So when you talk about all of these issues, it makes sense. But again, I think the average person may look at it like, what is keeping these common sense types of moves
Well,
away?
these people need to contact their representatives and their senators and
Okay.
say, I heard, Kim Coco Iwamoto talking about this bill idea. It sounds great. Why don't you give it a hearing? Why don't you support it? Why don't you sign on to this bill? There's ways that the public can ask their representatives to represent them. But they
You make
don't
it sound so
but you
easy,
don't
Rep.
but they don't know if you just silently sit on your couch or listen to the radio or whatever and you hear these things and you don't bust a move, if you don't pick up the phone, send an email, and actually engage with the person whose salary you're paying, right? We are paid by the constituents, we're paid by taxpayers. You're paying my salary. So
Do you think there's a general apathy then by the voting public, or is it just they're just trying to survive? We talk about
everyone's,
affordability, we're
yes.
talking about jobs, we're talking about just people are exhausted. Right? It was a tough
Yes.
year last year.
Yes, absolutely.
So
I
how can we
know.
take this year and reinvigorate ourselves?
Yeah.
Right? Year of the fiery horse, or what year is
I
this? The
know
horse?
it's the horse.
Yes.
But so here's the thing: when we sit back, we have to realize that there are other forces leaning in.
Okay.
Right? There are
Give it to
corporations.
us.
There are corporations who are hiring lobbyists to lobby on their behalf to get bigger tax cuts so that you as an individual have to carry the tax burden. Do you know what I mean? So
And there's more money behind their interest than ours.
yeah, people are hiring other people to do their pushing, to lobby for their positions, right? And there's a whole industry of lobbyists who make sure they're meeting with all of the individuals who can flick levers for them in their favor.
Have brown paper bags ready.
Brown paper bags, yes, but we have to remind every elected official in Hawaii that the voters are the ones who can, vote them out. As we saw, I think in my case,
Yeah.
right? I mean, he was the Speaker of the House, and he was in this very powerful position. He was in the media every week, if not every day. And he had the most, money. He spent the most money, and it was the voters who kind of asserted themselves. And I'm so grateful that they did and gave me this opportunity. But it makes me then feel like I have this duty to them
To make change. To make change that you spoke about.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
hello. I wish everyone could basically, I wish we could go through everyone's platforms and say, well, how are you doing on this?
Well, that's what we're trying. That's what I'm
Yes.
trying to do.
Okay.
So, we want to get answers from everybody. Now, I'm looking at this list of priorities that you have. Insurance was another one. Were we talking about insurance, or what other ones would you like to discuss
Well,
with
we
us
talked
today?
about the investigation. Did we
Yes.
talk about the $35,000 bandit? So, yes, talking about, I think the people of Hawaii do want to know just why are you hiding the ball? Like, why are you hiding this?
First of all, do you know who it is?
No, I don't know.
In the hallways, though, I'm sure
no,
people have
no,
theories.
and I think that could be very dangerous.
Oh, okay. Because the rumor mill, Coconut Wireless. Hello.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, no, really.
I'm sure there's theories out there.
Yeah, no. And is it a sitting legislator? Did the legislator go on to the executive branch? We don't know. There's
Unless you have evidence to show it.
and somebody does have evidence that the person is Ty Cullen.
But there's no incentive for him, though.
Well, there's also he can't be he can be offered immunity for any participation. He cannot be charged for double jeopardy for the time he served, right? The legislature has subpoena power. We can subpoena him and make him take an oath to tell the truth, and we can give him immunity, and we can just say, who is it? Who is this person?
It doesn't seem there's any will. There's no will there to want to investigate. Would you say that?
From leadership, it doesn't. I mean, I think leadership has made it clear either in their silence or in their handing the ball off to the Attorney General. But we are separate branches of government, and if we don't use authority we have to look out for the interests of the public, then we're letting them down. And we're saying, hey, trust us, vote for us, believe in us. And I think they're like, well, you got to do something. You got to show up for us too.
Yeah. Do you think public trust has dwindled because of this? Or
Public
people...
trust in the legislature has always been very low. And so it doesn't help when they see this kind of obfuscation of responsibility. And that's what this is. This is a body that's saying, oh, we're going to do the minimal instead of doing what is expected. And that's disappointing. I'm disappointed, and I'll continue to make my voice heard. But there's a lot of pressure for a lot of my colleagues because the mythology is that you put your head down, you don't buck the system, you don't vote against somebody's bill, you don't. So then I don't know, it just...
There's a lot of trading that happens, as in any congressional body, right?
Well...
I feel like that's part and parcel of the place.
Right, but we need to remove the pettiness, we need to remove, the bullying, we need to remove the threats, and just have a debate on the substance. And then when that gets resolved, then you go on to the next one. And, and you just say bygones, like, it's all good, let's go to the next issue.
It sounds like the way all businesses should operate, but as we know.
Well, but, again, we're being paid to represent
the
people, and I feel like there's an added duty and responsibility to
well,
that.
I did want to shift actually to the cannabis discussion.
Right.
I know that you were talking about that last session. Do you think this is the time, or do you think it's not a high priority?
Well, I surveyed my district, and I got around 600 responses, which is almost 3 times the amount other people get from their constituents. So people were really, and I did specifically ask about taxing and regulating responsible adult use of marijuana or cannabis, and overwhelmingly they supported that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because I think, when you're talking about we need to raise revenue, marijuana is already available. It's just not labeled. Like, I want to know is the marijuana, is it really like strong, or is it super mellow? Is it a can of beer, or is that 100 proof scotch?
Kind of like the different levels and the the grades of
yes, all of that. And also I want to know that it comes from a reputable producer. Is it laced with weird things?
Yeah,
I don't want that.
Yeah, that was a concern.
So regulation is healthy. I mean, regulation is an investment in this kind of more health-minded model. And then, of course, collecting the tax revenue is really important, I think.
Yeah.
So for those reasons, and so I did poll my district, and I'm representing my district, and I will speak about this.
Okay.
And so, I don't know if other representatives are actually polling their districts.
Yeah. What else did you find really mattered for your district? Was there other issues that came up during your poll?
Yeah, well, one thing I was really surprised about was how we address crime, right? Do we, build bigger prisons, mandate longer prison sentences, make it harder for prisoners to get released? Or do we address the root causes of crime? Do we make sure people are fed and housed? Do we provide mental health services, making sure there's sufficient mental health services? And overwhelmingly, like 70% of my district said we definitely need to address root causes. We can't just think that incarceration is the answer, because those individuals will be released one day, and can we do better? For our how can we really keep our communities safer by addressing the root causes?
Is there like a certain legislative bill that kind of tackles that?
But this actually, for me as a representative, informs every bill I hear. So I'm like, well, is this bill just locking people up longer, or is it actually solving the problem? I just heard on NPR, Hawaii Public Radio this morning, about we have 400 vacancies in the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, which means they don't have enough staff. So we're passing all these laws to criminalize more people, to put more people in prison longer, but we're not then giving them, the prison system, the money to offer competitive wages to hire the individuals to keep people locked up. And then when we lock up people, we have certain constitutional obligations on what kind of quality of locking up they are sustaining, right? The individuals who are being incarcerated. So right now we're using overuse of restrictive housing, which means we're keeping people locked up in a cell and only releasing them maybe an hour a day, which is not healthy, which is also re-traumatizing of them. So then when we open the door and let them out, they're like, they're much more harmed and traumatized. And that's harder for them to reacclimate into society. So we need to just have a systems approach and realize too that when we create longer prison mandatory minimums, when we do all of this stuff, we better show up with the money to know we're taking money from somewhere else.
Yeah, I think I guess speaking from people that I've spoken to, there is kind of that, there's also that voice that wants to see more enforcement, right? Like because crime has gone up in some areas, there's kind of this feeling that if there was more enforcement and there was more kind of deterrence, the crime would go down.
Right.
Do you agree with that? What would you say to people who think that
I think
that
crime
way?
goes down when we take away the reasons for the crimes to occur. I mean, meaning if people are housed, getting mental health. Because some of the crimes, I mean, when we talk about crimes going up, in that one area, it might be because we don't have enough mental health services, right, to manage people's care. And so they go out and they're out of control. And we've created all of these. Do you remember that game when you're a child sitting in the back seat of the car and your sibling would put their finger next to your face and say, "Don't touch me." And then your mom makes a turn and then suddenly you lean into them. I mean, that's what I feel like we do with some of our laws. We create this game around people and then life happens and they bump into your finger. Oh, you hit me.
But that was out of their control.
But
like,
you know what I mean? So there's a kind of a lack of maturity, I think, in some of our policies that we need to really step back. And sometimes it's about having difficult conversations with constituents, because some constituents who've been victims of crimes are like, we gotta make everyone pay. It was unfair. And yes, it was horrible what happened to your family. But there are bigger issues here that when we put this law forward, it may have unintended consequences that don't really address the problem that could have prevented the tragedy that occurred to you.
Yeah, obviously, when we talk to people who are victimized, that's the kind of call for action is enforcement and harsher penalties and Hawaii's too soft, right? I think that's what I tend to hear from folks that have been victims or their families have been victims.
Well, and so the McKinley High School senior student who was killed in a crosswalk, Sarah Yera, I'm very close with her mom, and we were working on a bill, and it's still alive today, that instead of, so what happened in that situation was he was an unlicensed driver, and he was like, I mean, currently, if you get pulled over by the cops and they're like, oh, you had your license taken away, you don't have a license, it was revoked, whatever, you shouldn't be driving a car, the cops will let them get back in the car and drive off.
Yeah, I think that blew everyone's mind.
Right, and this isn't about putting somebody in, necessarily creating a longer sentence. This is just about saying, hey, you know what? Oftentimes when they don't have a license, it's not their car. So calling the registered owner of that car and saying, hey, you allowed an unlicensed driver to use your car. The next time this person's using your car, we're going to impound it. We're going to, and also just heads up, we're letting your insurance company know that you're letting unlicensed drivers know. So there's ways of actually putting more pressure to getting the behavior we want to see that isn't just about harsher penalties and longer sentences. We can actually manage the system differently.
Yeah, actually, you bring up a good point, because we have been talking about fatalities, and since you're the vice chair of public safety, a lot of these traffic fatalities we've seen, record number in Oahu last year. Can we do something about that legislatively, where we can see more change in behavior of drivers? Because you can put all the speed bumps and all
all the cameras,
things, but they're still gonna speed.
Right.
People are still gonna drive the way they're driving.
Yes. Well, and actually, so regarding these speed cameras, and we're already at 10:41. Is
Yeah,
that right? Yeah.
that's okay. We can go on.
Okay, regarding these speed cameras that were just installed throughout the urban core, so basically, if you go through a signal, a stoplight or something, or if you go over a certain speed, your picture is going to be taken. And so people have been getting all these warnings, and now they're getting tickets. And my office sent a request to the Department of Transportation, who operates these speed camera lights. Hey, you have this equipment that'll actually show drivers their speed. Like, show them their speed and say, hey, there's a speed camera 500 feet in front of this. So if your speed, we're showing you your speed, and if you continue at this speed, you're going to get a ticket. So I think putting that, you could actually get more people slowing down. And then you don't even need the camera, because you're just like, hey, we got a camera. And maybe we do, maybe we don't.
It's like the fear, like, I'm not going to get a
But
ticket.
letting people know how fast they're really going, to say, hey, you might not realize, but you're going this fast, and there's a speed camera. It's going to get people to slow down.
So that's one of the ideas that might help.
Yeah. I mean, we have to start that conversation. Say, why don't we get a bigger bang of our buck? The investment we made into these cameras, we can make them more effective by having these warning speedometers.
Okay, very good. Okay, well, we're running out of time, so I just wanted to give you a chance to wrap up and kind of just real quickly where you see this session going. What do you hope to see out of this session?
Well, I think a really one of the main things I think we need to see is creating revenue sources that ensure that corporations, out-of-state investors, the wealthiest households are paying their fair share of taxes. We need to make sure we're taking a stronger stance regarding our state's resources, including land leases, and make sure there's more participation by the public and different agencies like OHA, any stakeholders. And so those are some of the broader issues that I hope to see, is raising the sufficient revenue.
All right, and we're going to follow it closely here on Hawaii News Now. But Representative Kim Coco Iwamoto, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
It was wonderful to chat with you and see what's ahead. So hopefully something will come out of our discussion. All right.
Thank you.
And that's all for us. I'm Annalisa Burgos, and you are watching Hawaii News Now.